Hello and welcome to this brand new YouTube channel, and welcome to my first video. I'll be teaching you how to use Logic Pro X to create Psytrance music. I'll be using stock plugins most of the time. It might be that I use a third-party plugin, but most of the time it will be a free one. Today we are going to create a kick with a synth in Logic Pro X, the ES2. So yeah, let's get started. First of all, we want to set our BPM to, I chosen 146, can be anything. And I set my key to G minor. I think that's a nice key. So let's add a synthesizer, the ES2. Here it is. And let's initialize the settings or the patch. So a kick in its essence is actually just a sine wave going from a high pitch to a low pitch. So any synthesizer with a sine oscillator and is capable of setting up a pitch envelope is good for creating a kick. So we have set it to sine. So if you now play the keyboard, you will hear it. I'll add my equalizer so you can actually see. So if I go higher on my keyboard, you'll see that it also changes. So I know, for instance, that G is around 49 Hertz. So we should try to be here. If you have another G on your keyboard, an octave higher, then you are around 100, which is too high for a kick. That will never sound good. So this is the correct octave. Let's create a MIDI region first and lay out some kicks, some MIDI notes. So if you use this red button here, the MIDI input, and you set your playhead just on the beginning and you hit one time the keyboard, it will create the MIDI note correct on the scale for you. So let's create for bass drums. Hit U for looping that particular MIDI clip. Okay, so let's move on for the kick. So as you can hear, the click is not consistent. It's changing every time, and this is not something that we want. We want every kick to be exactly the same. So to change that, we can set our oscillator start instead of free to a locked position. You can either use soft or hard. I prefer hard. As you can hear, there's a nice click, which will be the start of our kick. In the amp envelope, our attack is set to 92 milliseconds. If you shorten it completely to 0, the attack will be more prominent, which is okay for me. So now we have to connect the pitch envelope. So pick any of these slots and pick pitch 1 and going to envelope 1, which is exactly this part of the synth. So now we have to raise it up. And there we go. So this is too long. This is too short. So you can do this by ear. Somewhere around here is nice. Make sure that on the amp envelope the sustain is completely down. And add a little bit of decay. This already sounds like a pretty nice kick. We could maybe add some distortion to it. Not too much. Make sure that you watch your levels. And that's a good start. So next we could do is bounce it out to audio. This is something I always do. I never actually keep my MIDI or synth as a source. So how to do this is you hold on a Mac, you hold Control B, and it asks you to bounce the regions in place. I'll mute the previous synth, so because we don't need it anymore. There we have it. And I'll cut away the 3 extra notes. So this is our kick. Here you can actually see the WAV file, pretty nice. So how can we get this WAV file into our sampler? Well, that's pretty easy. You just drag it to the left side here. You take the quick sampler and there it goes. Cool. So we mute this one. Our root key is set to C3, so we could now actually create a pattern and it will automatically set it to C3 since it recognizes our sampler. So again, we do the same as the previous, just add 4 kicks, zoom out a little bit. By selecting the MIDI clip and pressing the U key, it will automatically set the cycle range to the length of the MIDI clip. From here, we want to be sure that our kick is correct in length. Now, this is my first free third-party plugin that I will use. It is Oscilloscope from Bomb Shanka Machines, and if we now play our kick, we can see the length. So these are 4x16 notes, or this is 1 bar, or this is 1 8 note. It depends on how you want to call it. But the length should be fine, so we don't need much of cutting off this kick. But anyways, if we want to make sure that no information is going beyond the length of the kick that we want, we can drag this one to shorten it. Always make sure that you set your snap settings to 0 crossings. This will avoid clicks and pops. If you don't do this, let me try to force it. You will get, you can hear it? That's a click we don't want. So by setting this to 0 crossings, it will snap automatically to every 0 crossing. If you want to know how long the kick should be with 146 BPM, it's pretty simple. It's 60,000 divided by the BPM and then again divided by 2. That gives you the correct length, and in this case it will be 205 milliseconds. So that's exactly where I can put my ending, and I'll give you the nice fade out like this. Perfect. We could actually change the pitch, but in this case it's completely not needed since we actually tuned our kick in the beginning. Good for now. So the next stage will be equalizing it a little bit. As you can see, we have too much information around the 200 Hertz area, which gives, some people call it boxiness or boominess. So I will exaggerate it a little so that you can hear. This is a sound you don't want to have in a kick, so you are going to dip that out a little bit. Nice. We could also do a low cut around 30 Hertz because most systems can't produce frequencies lower than 30 Hertz. So in this case we might win a little bit of extra decibels of energy. So that's the equalizer part. We could then maybe add a little bit of a clip distortion. So it gives you a nice extra bright transients to it. So therefore I have to set the low pass filter completely to 20,000. And with the drive and again we can brighten up the transient a little bit. Not too much. Somewhere here, that should be fine. And then for last but not least, some would like to put a compressor on top of their kick. I prefer a multiband compressor in the first place, which in Logic is called the, under Dynamics, the multipressor. I maybe want to have a little bit more of low end in this kick, so I could crank it up a little bit. Always check your values. This is okay still. And maybe compress it just a tad. So this is with, this is without. And by the way, make sure that auto gain is off at all times. Yeah, should be fine. So that's our kick, pretty much. And together with a bass, it should sound like this. So yeah, that's how I create a kick in Logic Pro X with the ES2. I hope you guys liked it. If you liked it, then please give it a thumb up and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye!